welcome to our session on optimizing industrial operations with Amazon Monitron. I'm Annalena Kopf, Account Manager at AWS, and together with me on stage today, we have Ben Scherer, Chief Information Officer, together with Simon Jönsson, Cloud Architect, at our dear customer, Orion Engineered Carbons. In our session today, we're going to present you Orion's Monitron pilot and share lessons learned. With that, over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Annalena, and also welcome from my side. Thanks much for joining. I would like to introduce our company, Orion SA. We are one of the 3 leading manufacturers of carbon black. And for those of you who don't know what carbon black is, you sit basically on a roll where you also have some of our pigments in. So we basically do everything black, right? So color, but also mostly rubber products, right? So when you have a tire in your car, about 28% of the tire are made out of carbon black. We do all sorts of rubber goods, coatings, which basically paintings for cars, but also for clothes. And a new and growing market for us is the battery market. So if you are in the e-vehicle, e-mobility industry, that's where we actually see a lot of growth in our company at the moment. We build new factories in that area, one at the moment in the US. So soon to be 15 factories once the factory is finished. We have about 1,600 employees, very global footprint across the 3 different geographies. And about a history of ranging back more than 150 years. So it's a very old industry, but we see a lot of change just in the recent years, as I mentioned before, with the drive for e-mobility, but also circular economy. And with that said, I'll just hand over back to Annalena to give a little bit of an idea how Amazon sees the journey of the manufacturing data landscape.
Thanks, Ben. These days at Hannover Messe, we as AWS are presenting our vision on the evolution of the manufacturing data landscape. On this picture, we can see the evolution, bringing IT and OT together. Traditionally, starting from the ISA 95 standard, data was set up in silos in different systems like the MES, CRM, ERP, or PLM systems, not designed to work together. This led to the overall problem of not being able to solve real business problems based on a single set of data. With the introduction of cloud computing, we saw the first steps of bringing IT and OT together. On the IT side, we were now able with cloud solutions to bring data from single sources to multiple systems. On the OT side, we saw edge-to-cloud approaches that helped to connect the shop floor. And these days, we are now able, with having the industrial data platform framework as well as smart manufacturing solutions in place to realize any-to-any communication within a smart factory. With that, Ben, let me ask you, where on this journey are you currently with Orion?
With Orion, we started probably, I would say, 4 years ago with a larger cloud adoption journey and also bringing our IT and OT environments together. So I would say we're just at the edge between converging IT and OT and the smart factory. We're not quite there yet, so it's a journey, but we have our IT and OT teams joined together. There's joint governance, right? And also from a solution perspective, some of the products and applications that we use are already in the cloud. But there's still, I think, 2-3 years ahead of us to really call ourselves a smart manufacturing company.
Nice, nice. And so, Ben, when it comes to the Monitron pilot we're talking about today, I've understood that you had a couple of challenges, and that was the reason why you decided to kick off a project in order to optimize your maintenance and reliability processes. Can you talk about your challenges a bit and share some insights with the audience?
Yeah, let me also go to the next slide that shows a little bit, of where we are. We're not different than any other manufacturing company, to be honest. So one of the things that we see is that we have unplanned downtime. So it's sometimes difficult for us to avoid that because we do not really have the visibility in our complete asset footprint, right? So some of the machines are connected, we collect the data, but there is also a little bit of a black hole of a part of the estate that we can't cover, right? So important for us to really get visibility so that we can perform health monitoring across the equipment, and then also that we can understand the condition of the equipment, right? So get a little bit of an idea when we need to replace devices, when maintenance is needed, so that we can schedule and plan work better. It's difficult to find skilled workforce in the maintenance area, so we have a shortage, I think a labor shortage across the industry. And if we have a better planning and a more focused approach of basically leveraging the workforce in the area, it will give us an instrumental benefit. Then I would move on to the next slide and hand over to Simon to give a bit of an overview of the Monitron solution in our pilot.
Thank you, Ben. So, as you see here, I was the cloud architect, and I also worked before in one of our production plants. So I was there implementing Monitron in one of our plants. We have at the moment 15 sensors that we mounted on pumps, fans, and other where you have some kind of statical vibration. And the Monitron product itself contains, of course, of the sensor that you mount on the, or glue actually, on the device itself or asset itself. And then you are using your mobile phone to pair it with a gateway, which then you connect either wirelessly or with an Ethernet cable. And this sends the data then to the Monitron application in the AWS Cloud. And our maintenance department, they then used either their phones or the web browser to then view the data, and they will also be alerted on any kind of strange behavior in the vibration pattern. So as you see also on this picture here, so the communication between the sensor itself and the gateway is Bluetooth low energy, and the vibration sensor is completely wireless. It has built-in battery. So it makes the installation really easy for us and for the maintenance departments. And the main driver would be that you don't need to actually put a cable there to run either electricity or run Ethernet or network cable to get actually the vibration sensor installed on the device. And then we also use an historian, which is like a data platform where all of our control system and DCS system actually sends the data to. And with this POV, we also, of course, wanted to make sure that we can get the data out of Monitron and use it in our existing historian. So we are using AWS Kinesis data stream to stream the data to our historian system, so we can query and build dashboards with all of the other data we also have for the rest of the production assets in the plant. And then, of course, we also use the app and the web browser to view the data. So this is also some pictures of a real installation where we put the Monitron sensors. And then, as you see on the left side, we have it's a more zoomed in picture. So you just glue it actually with a Loctite type of glue or any other type of glue. You glue it to the equipment. And then this Monitron sensor measures the vibration and also the temperature. And you can see this then in the Monitron portal. And it's really easy actually. In the beginning we glued it to some equipment, and then we realized that it's maybe best fit to place it on other types of equipment. And it was quite easy also for the maintenance department to actually relocate it and move it from the equipment and place it on another equipment. And those equipment we mounted it on, it's mainly equipment where we have quarterly vibration measurements by a third-party vendor. So they are coming to us and doing those quarterly checks, but of course you will only get this point-in-time view of the vibration or the health status of the equipment. So to try to reduce production downtimes in the future, we then implemented this, and potentially this could replace then the periodic checks by this third-party vendor, and we will have the live view instead, and the maintenance department can get the accurate alert by Monitron for the condition of the asset. And here you see a graph of the Monitron data itself. So we actually had an incident then in one of our plants where we installed this, and we wanted to test the solution first just to make sure that the connectivity and everything was there. So the Monitron sensor was installed, but the maintenance department didn't have access to the console or portal at this time. And as you see in the left side of the graph, there is actually a yellow mark, which is the indication that Monitron noticed that there was some kind of failure with this bearing. So Monitron alerted, and then much later there was also coming noise, of course, from the air fan in this case. And then the maintenance department, of course, got aware of this issue, and then too late, the bearing actually failed, as you see in the red part. So they replaced it, but the funny thing would be that if they would have access to the portal, they would have been able to see this and got alert from Monitron much earlier and could have replaced the bearing or take any other action that was needed. So I think this was my last slide, so I will hand over back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Simon. And if you look at the roadmap on where we are, what we plan to do, right now, I think Simon just mentioned that as a chemical manufacturing company, we have a distributed control system, which is basically our type of MES, right, which we use to run the production. There are a lot of sensors connected. They're more expensive, and they provide deep details, but they don't cover all of the equipment, right? And for the equipment that's not covered via the control system, we have a service provider that comes in and performs mobile maintenance checks, vibration measurements in a regular interval. We also see then only like a point of time view of that equipment, so like when the regular inspection takes place. In the future, we see an opportunity to replace the mobile vibration measurements with the condition monitoring service provided by Monitron, so that we get a constant permanent visibility at also a very reasonable cost. We get early alerting of health issues of equipment, right? So equipment health monitoring. We look at introducing a global standard, right? I mean, we're not super big, but we have 15 plants in a lot of different geographies. And so one thing is governance is very important, right? So that we have the ability to put a standard into all of our plants, which makes it easy to really run global operations. And lastly, we also want to further evolve and develop the Monitron solution, so scale it, but also adopt new features, right? So there's a new set of sensors being released, which is more like wake on motion, which will give us more exposure to when the action of the vibration happens, rather than a predefined interval. So there's a lot of innovation also coming in the area, which we would like to test early on, right, and bring also into our factories. Then when you look at the benefits that we get is overall equipment efficiency, of course, right? So we have better plant maintenance. We basically have increased the set availability. From a cost perspective, I mentioned the third-party maintenance service, the mobile maintenance service that we bring in. So we think we can cut this at some point, so we don't need to leverage that anymore. We have kind of higher availability of our plants, avoid the unplanned maintenance. And from an indirect cost-saving perspective, we also avoid lost revenue. Our maintenance team gets more focused, gets more efficient. So we have an efficiency gain, which again translates into cost. And I think one of the aspects that I find very important is the deployment and the rollout, which we really appreciated with the Monitron product. It's very simple to install. You don't need to run cabling like a power circuit and a network cable or a complex wireless network in the plant. It basically comes with its own connectivity, and that makes it very reasonable from a cost perspective and also from a rapid rollout perspective. Since that's one of the biggest issues for us, if we have to mount a simple power outlet in the plant, we need to update construction plans, and we have like high cost due to this. And lastly, to summarize our key takeaways from the pilot, so we looked at different products. In the end, adoption is the key to success, and it's a learning curve, right? So we also see this, as Simon presented in our plant in Sweden, that the maintenance team is not all in on day one, right? So there is some events needed and also some trust that has to be built with the team. So you need to be very close to your operations, to the maintenance organization, in order to establish that relationship, in order to establish the trust, to really drive the adoption, because that's what creates the business value in the end. Deployment, we just had that, right? We really find that a little bit like plug and play, right? When it was initially introduced, so it's very smooth to roll it out. And then in the end, I think the value proposition is really great because we cover like 20% of our high value equipment with integrated expensive sensors and monitoring, and that helps us to gain visibility of the rest of the estate at a very simple, affordable cost. With that said, I hand over back to you, Annalena.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thanks a lot, Simon, for providing these valuable insights. And with that, we would like to open it up for Q&A. I think we have like roughly 5 to 10 minutes left, so if there is any kind of question, feel free to raise your hand, and we're going to bring you a microphone over to share your thoughts.
Hey guys, thanks for the presentation, first of all, very interesting. I have a question maybe for Simon. So I'm curious about the predictive maintenance. So once you extract the data, how is the machine learning, or what kind of models are used to identify the patterns in the fault?
So monitoring itself is not a machine learning solution. It's more about condition monitoring. We're looking into other models to either build some ourselves, the pipeline, or actually also an AWS product. What was the name of this? Lookout for equipment, correct. So we just had a meeting about it actually, and it's really good, where you can feed the data from several equipments, also from our existing historian. For example, you could feed this system and it could give you these machine learning predictions and actually give you the more predictive maintenance part of the solution. But monitoring itself is more a condition monitoring, if the health is good or bad.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
One question for Ben, Max Cavazzini. Ben, you mentioned a cultural change in collaboration with the management. What was the biggest pushback, if any, you had in changing the way you were doing things and you do it now?
I mean, there's not one single biggest pushback, right? I would look at this way. We do this since like 4 years now, a little bit over 4 years. And what we have is we have a, could say, cross-functional working group community between operations and the IT organization, right? So like 2 bridgeheads and a community in both places. And I think what the problem is, we are very good in doing pilots, right, as most of the companies. But then if it comes to adoption and basically cascading these things in the different other plants to scale it out, that's basically where the biggest challenge resides. We have now a new group, right, Operational Excellence, which we partner with, and they have the reach and the handhold into the plants. And that's basically the most important thing for us, because what we did is we ran a few pilots. They were really promising and also successful. But then, if you put the product in front of a maintenance team or operations without, let's say, that cultural change element that you just mentioned, the acceptance is low, and therefore you don't get adoption, you don't get business value.
Perfect. With that, again, thank you very much for participating. We hope that you've took some valuable insights and also actionable key takeaways with you. And thanks again, Ben, Simon, for being here with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.